Joe Dinifer here. In these videos, you're going to see the most leading edge, research-based, learning accelerated ideas in sports in the world. Just keep in mind, we're going to use some kinesthetic and visual aids. Try getting what you're seeing, or go to a hardware store and make some things in your garage. But do something. Visual and kinesthetic aids really accelerate learning. Joe Dinifer here, and decades of learning and teaching and sharing about tennis and the sport. Let me talk about real briefly the ball, the racket, and the eyes. The ball and the racket make contact in tennis between 3 and 4 milliseconds. So that's nothing. It could be 1/250th of a second. Yet the human eye only sees things that occur at 1/60th of a second. For example, a light bulb, an incandescent regular light bulb, flickers on and off 60 times in a second, and we see it as a steady light. So that tells us that our eyes can't see the objects when they're at 1/60th of a second, yet the tennis and racket and the tennis ball contact are literally 4 times faster or faster than that. We can't see contact. It doesn't get slower than this, and you cannot see the point of contact. So this causes a lot of people really to either get frustrated when their coaches tell them, watch the ball hit the strings because it doesn't happen, or they look away. Now, I've got my friend Lenny Schloss here. Lenny has been a researcher also for decades about the human brain and the eyes and how they work. We know that the dwell time of the ball and the strings is very, very short, and we can't pick that up. But what should we do? Should we try to watch the ball hit the strings? Do we just see things that are 3 feet away? Lenny's going to fill in that gap. So, Lenny, share with us.
Well, there is a point in time in which our eye will naturally track a ball to our racket. We're born to do it. We're born hunters. We had to do this to fight to survive. So we naturally will track it. There is also a point in time where we will focus and strike something. The challenge becomes putting those two together. This device was designed to mesh those two problems into one solution. Not only do it to track, we can now focus. Track and then focus. Track and then focus. So now what our eye is doing is, instead of doing individual training systems, we're combining tracking, scanning, and focusing as one unit, so our brain now does not have to be taught how to keep our eye on the ball. It just needs to be practiced. Simply with a 1, 2, 3 system, we now can retrain our eye to be exactly the way a pro's works at contact.
Now, let me interject here, Lenny, because we're going to talk back and forth with this. So essentially what you're saying is that put the eye coach, Billie Jean King eye coach aside. We needed something to help people who were mishitting the tennis ball the majority of the time. What's the percentage that people mishit on average?
90% of the points played off the pro tour are hit off center at risk of an error. 90%. The pros, guess, 50%. One out of every 2 times they are not playing.
The pros are only hitting 50% in the middle.
Yes.
And recreational players 90% off center.
Yes.
And the result is shanks, like we've seen even players like Roger Federer or Nadal, they'll shank because the ball and the racket, it's off center, the racket torques,
exactly.
The ball goes off the frame, it goes flying into the stands. We've all done it. We've seen our kids do it. So it's not, I just want to be really clear, it's not so much about the device, although this device was created to solve this issue. We're talking about an issue here that needed to be addressed and still needs to be addressed. And that's the point of these videos, is how to accelerate learning. How to make people, what's the phrase that you like?
Learn twice as much in half the time.
Twice as much in half the time. That's a great one. So in future videos, stay tuned. We're going to be sharing things about visual and kinesthetic learning to speed up the process. I hope you have fun with this. We're passionate about it, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you.